So we've all been working on our summer booties. Or no, Lala says that.
Yeah, it was Lala who said
Oh,
that.
what James says is, "Oh, are you pregnant?" That's what he says. And then he jerks off his drink. But the most interesting part, which I don't know how I didn't catch this the first time around watching this show, but after he jerks off his drink, then he goes and like tries to drink it again. I'm like, there's nothing in there.
Yeah.
Everything is out of the drink now. But he commits. He does a little jerk off motion, and then he commits to like trying to take a sip. That was the most embarrassing part, I thought.
Like a mime cum.
Yeah.
That's what we called it on a porno I worked on once.
Wait.
It's not. It wasn't
Come again?
really a porno.
No pun intended. Come again? What's this? What's this story? How do I not know this?
You did know this. It was when I came back into town, probably 7 years ago, maybe 6 years ago. And I came to come work on a show for Playboy. And I didn't know what the show was until I basically left LA. And when I came back into town to do it, was basically when I realized that what I was doing was working on a XX show for Playboy.
Wow.
And it was called Adult Film School, and it was couples married who had been together for a really long time, wanted to spice up their marriage. So they sent in their homemade sex tapes that needed like zhuzhing. And so they were mentored by this woman named Holly who would show them how to make like a nice sex tape.
I have no recollection of this.
I know it sounds silly, but it was actually kind of inspiring.
It sounds pretty entertaining, honestly.
So I watched people fuck. That was the first time I'd ever seen that before in real life.
And so this would have been what, like
2014.
Oh, okay.
Do you remember? I stayed with you.
Well, you sure kept that from me, didn't you?
No, you knew I was working on this. You probably just forgot.
I must really have not remembered. I mean, I feel like that would have stayed with me, but I obviously
it was an interesting time. I didn't know what it was. I'm telling you, until literally the night before I left LA.
Is this when I lived in the apartment?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, at the time I was still really early on in my career. And I remember thinking like, is this bad? Like if I work on this, is this
going to look bad? Is this going to, yeah. I'm glad you did it. That's pretty cool, honestly.
You know, it was an experience, and it turned out everybody that I worked with also worked on the same shows that I did, but we all took the gig because why not? And it's extra money, and it was good money. And I ended up having actually a really good time with everybody that I worked with. It was weird. The first day was weird. Watching couples have sex was weird, and I took log notes. So I was noting like
in and out type of stuff. Out and then in again, and then in and out
like
again.
That's a good moan, or he comes, or like, I'm not kidding.
Oh my God.
Or when they switch positions. Here's the thing. Going back to full circle, when you were saying he like, what did you call that?
Jerk off? I don't even
remember,
honestly.
Anyway, all of this to say is that there was a guy who would like come on camera, and I say this in bunny ears, he wouldn't actually come on camera. It was we called it a mime come, because with Playboy, it's XX, not XXX. And for those of you out there who watch any type of adult programming on TV through cable, there's XX and then there's XXX. XX is just sex. XXX is butt and showing cum on camera. That's XXX. That's how
I learned something new.
Yeah, it's kind of like broadcast and then paid cable.
Okay. Well, so James really was XXX. We just didn't really get to see it come to fruition. He had all the emotions there, but the ending was a little bit of a different. It was a surprise ending.
It was a happy ending.
It was a happy ending.
A happy fucking ending. Hey y'all, welcome to Reality Bites, the podcast where we'll deep dive into this week's buzziest reality TV and pop culture happenings.
I'm Betsy, and while I may be 9 to 5 by day, I'm a reality connoisseur by night.
And I'm JJ, a reality TV producer by trade, but my favorite pastime is dishing unfiltered dirt and behind-the-scenes scoop. We'll tackle the biggest and best water cooler moments of the week through an insider lens you won't find anywhere else.
Buckle up, buttercups.
Please don't tell me it's about Tom.
It's about Tom.
This is Reality Bites. What's not a happy ending is this episode.
Oh my God.
There's a lot to unpack here. And I got to be honest, straight up, Betsy and I are going to do our very, very best to remain very focused. But because there's so much to unpack, I'm afraid that there are going to be moments where her and I are going to just kind of like, oh, I forgot that happened. Or like, oh, I forgot.
Yes.
So please bear with us. We're doing our best.
Well, and I think a lot of people watching this episode it was all over the place. I think there was a sense of like highs and lows, left and rights. A lot of things were happening that it was kind of whiplash.
It was.
And to be transparent, we're really just going to talk about the girls' trip because everything else is who cares. Other than I did like, I will mention this at the top of the episode because I will absolutely forget about it once we get into it. But I did enjoy the styling scene with Schwartz. Not necessarily because of Schwartz or Sheena, but I did really like that stylist. I thought she was funny and to the point, and I appreciated her commentary. But that's all I got to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, look, before we get into it, like, what were your like overall thoughts going into it, and like, what did you feel coming out of it, and then we can talk about the middle.
Well, I think there was a lot of anticipation with this because I'm sure everybody heard, or most people heard, that Andy Cohen came out and was like, listen, guys, this episode was not re-edited. So, and he said that because he really believed that a lot of people would have watched this and have thought, oh, they recut the episode to really, drive the narrative that Raquel and Tom were going to be having an affair. But so I think because of that, I went into the episode with like really high alerts, being on the lookout and like just like aware of everything. I honestly feel like what everyone's doing anyway, I feel like we're all just looking for the most like smallest clues to like point us in a direction of like how this really happened and where it really began. So, I mean, I was really on high alert for that, but the episode really, it was all over the place. It was very like whiplashy. I had a lot of feelings. I had a lot of emotions, and I was very angry. I felt very, very enraged, and I kept yelling at my phone to do my voice to text, and it didn't go very well because, I was in a heightened state of emotion. And Tequila Katie, I'm drinking tequila tonight so I can figure it out and get through it, But what did you think? Just high level, without any specifics. What did you think about this episode?
That scene in Heathers?
Yes. Well, no, but yes, probably.
Where one of the Heathers comes up to Winona Ryder, another Heather, and says,
favorite.
Heather, you look like hell. And she goes, well, I just got back. That's how I felt. I felt like a phoenix rising from the ashes. Mm-hmm. I don't know what I went through, but I went through something. It's like when you go out with all of your friends and then you somehow wake up in your bed the next morning. You're just like, you don't really what happened, but you blacked out.
Yeah.
It kind of felt like that. Watching it, now I understand why Andy was like, it's going to look like you were saying, it's going to look like we edited it, but we did talk about how they were definitely not going to edit these episodes because I think a lot of people had asked us what our thoughts were on the editing process and if they were going to change anything. And we had said that they're absolutely going to edit something, but they're just not going to edit these next few episodes, probably not until episode like 8 or 9, which I still believe is true. But having watched this, I go, oh, it makes sense. But I think what we're seeing is something that just is really incidental. Yep. It just so happens to be that the story that's happening in real life is also the same story that we're following on the show. Because let's face the facts here. Raquel's a fucking mess. Mm-hmm. And this all tracks. A leopard doesn't change her spots overnight. So the person that we are seeing on the show right now, Raquel, dealing with all this bullshit, is the same shit that we're seeing right now. Because it's only like 6 months later. Like nothing has changed. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting that we're kind of seeing the story play out almost in real time as we're seeing it on the show, as if it were happening simultaneously.
Yeah.
Which I think is interesting because it's not really something that happens all that often.
Well, right. And it's like Inspector Gadget. Every episode we're watching, we're trying to figure out what are the clues, what's happening. And from what we know thus far from people that are kind of connected to the situation or insiders, they really believe that this is when the affair started. After the Vegas trip, after the boys' night with Sheena.
But doesn't that track?
Yeah.
Because Raquel comes in, damsel in distress, and there's Sandoval on his white stallion there to save her because that's what he's always looking for. He's always looking for the underdog outlier. He's always looking for the person that's a little bit of a victim and a little vulnerable. And that's what it feels like to me.
Well, yes. So lots to say there. Yeah. I don't know if I should say it now or if I should save it. I don't know. We'll see how many tequilas I get deep. Okay. So let's just start again, what JJ said, we're not going to go in order. We're going to be all over the place, just like this episode was.
It's a great lead-in.
But let's start at the beginning, baby.
We're back at the hotel.
Yeah, that's where we start. And Raquel is wasted, which I would like to remind people, whether they need to be reminded or not, this person is 26, 27.
Yeah, I don't understand this. They were all drinking when they were her age, and they were out there partying and doing all sorts of shit.
Yeah, exactly. And they're like Katie, Lala, and Christina. I assume that she's probably around the same age as Katie. Like, I had kind of a distaste in my mouth at the beginning of this scene with Raquel being like wasted and like trying to eat food, and them kind of like, I mean, let's call it what it is. It was like a very mean girl situation. They were kind of making fun of her.
Yes.
They, Lala, who is sober now, which is great, but like the judgment came a little high from Lala, I felt.
Yeah, it felt a little sanctimonious. It felt, I mean, look, my takeaway in this moment, I kind of felt both sides. I felt like I was Raquel, but then I also was like, well, I'm kind of the girls in the bed. Because, when you have that one friend that's like a little bit more drunk or a little bit more silly or a little bit more foolish, you do drag them a little bit. You do tease them. You do make fun. And it kind of felt like for me, it was starting off like that. And then it kind of turned a little bit more, not dark, but like it did. It turned a little bit more mean to the point where I thought to myself, why did you guys invite her on this trip?
Yeah.
Like, I don't need her to be invited. And as we've said before, they have control over that. They didn't have to invite her, but they did. And I understood why they invited her, but it just felt like the entire time they were on this trip, they were dragging her in some iteration.
Yep.
If it was making fun of her, if it was she's stealing a man, if it was, and there just was any opportunity that they saw, it was pecking, just picking. And I was like, I don't get it. And then there were moments where they're embracing her. And so it's like, I get
Whiplash.
the teasing. Yeah, I get the teasing because I would do the same, right? If I have a friend, like I said, really wasted, I'm going to make fun of them. And cameras are going to catch me doing that.
I just don't think they have that relationship. I just don't even think they have that relationship at all to even be doing that.
So the teasing feels
mean. It feels mean because they don't really even like her. Let's call it what it is. They don't like her anyway.
So it just feels like, well, why did you invite her? Like, I'm not interested in watching an entire trip where we're supposed to see these girls bond over being single. And then they set her up to fail. That's what it felt like to me. They set her up to fail. I don't understand why they invited her. I don't get it. And Christina Kelly doesn't give a fuck about her. Lala like kind of gives a shit, but not really. And then Katie, I mean, it's like, what?
Well, I absolutely agree in the sense of like setting her up to fail because like you, I can see both sides. I've been both. I've been the drunkest in the room and I've been the most sober in the room when someone else is drunk. And I gotta tell you, when you're sober around someone who's a messy, sloppy drunk, it's real fucking annoying. I get it.
It is really
I get
annoying.
it. But this is what I'm gonna say, because when I saw the trailer for this episode and we see that clip of like, well, luckily Lala, you don't have a man to, bring you around. I honestly, and I don't know if I just didn't pick up on the way Raquel was saying it, I thought that conversation was taking place in the light of day the next day.
Same. I thought it was the next morning.
That took place
at 3
in the morning when Lala was obviously stone cold sober.
Yeah.
You're setting her up to fail. You're going to have this conversation with someone who Lala knows and explains is a dummy. You're going to say, oh, well, I'm going to tell you something, Raquel. I would never bring my man around you wasted. What do you think she's going to say? You think she's going to say something profound? Like, she was setting her up to have a bad moment. And listen, I'm not trying to take any onus off of Raquel. Raquel said what she said, and she deserves some backlash for that.
Wouldn't you say that if somebody said that to you? How fucking rude is that? Here's the thing.
Yeah.
What I don't understand is that if Lala's going to say that, like, I said it was okay, we had a conversation about it, it's not a big deal that she, flirt with Oliver, like, I have no stake in this game, yada, yada, yada. But then also use that against her. I don't understand. Then you cannot be smart and stupid.
You can't be both.
You cannot live in the land of no big deal, and then somehow use that circumstance or that situation as a frame of reference as to why you'll never let her around your man.
drunk.
What?
While she is wasted. Do you think you're going to have a normal conversation while she is wasted, eating whatever the fuck that was on the bed, splashing around? Like, you're not going to have a productive conversation, and Lala fucking knew
that. I saw it on her face that she knew that. I just didn't get it. It's like when your parents tell you, hey, if you need anything, let me know. If you need any money, let me know. Like, when you're in college, if you need this, let me know. And then you go, hey, I need $50. And then a month later they go, can you pay that back? You're like, oh, I didn't. And then they chastise you for not doing it, or they hold it over your head, or they bring it up every time.
Yes.
It's like, why did you tell her that it was okay? And then also use that as ammunition to say that, like, I would never have you. I didn't understand.
It's the upper hand. It's the upper hand, and she likes to have the upper hand.
Correct. If there was another thing that had happened that night that would give reason to this, fine. If Raquel had not talked to Lala and asked her, like, hey, are you into him? Is it cool? Because I'm kind of into him and whatever. If Raquel hadn't have done that, but also had known that Lala was into Oliver, I could understand this conversation. I could understand that comment that she makes to her. But the fact that, like, there was nothing kind of building up to that, and it just kind of was like, you're just annoying. You're like the annoying little sister. And that somehow dovetailed into, oh, and by the way, you drinking, I would never have you around my man. It just felt really fucking rude. It wasn't. And by the way,
just very judgy. The entire scene was incredibly judgy.
And I know a lot of
with
people
women
out
that
there,
shouldn't be judging. Sorry,
no,
shouldn't be judging.
That's my point. I'm like, what? And I know that a lot of people out there are saying that, like, well, why does Lala have the right to say this? Because she herself was a mistress. I got to be honest, I don't even care about that, because I actually believe Lala when she says that she didn't know. And if you don't know something about your significant other and they're lying to you, I choose to believe her in that moment, because we can't cherry pick victims of narcissism and abuse, both verbal and emotional. So I choose to believe Lala when she says that she did not know that. So the mistress thing doesn't really make sense to me, because the fact of the matter is, mistress or not, whatever Lala said was just fucking rude. To me, it was just rude. I was like, why are you saying this to her? Why did you guys invite her on the trip? They're isolating her and they're making her feel bad about herself. Then she overhears them talking about her. How would anybody else feel? You know how I know that she felt bad about herself? Was because when Christina Kelly went into the room to go and grab Katie's bag, she was so desperate to have a friend in that moment that she's like, Christina, you can come and sleep with me if you want. I'm not trying to baby her. I'm just saying that she is young. And I understand that a lot of people have certain expectations of what they think young is, but she is young. She is only, at this point, only 27. She just got out of this relationship. There is a naivete to her that exists, whether you want to believe that or not. There are some people who are old soul 27-year-olds. She's not.
No.
And so she's also on this trip with these women who are already into their 30s. They're supposed to go out and have fun and drink. Then she does that. And then they're like, ew.
They chastise her.
I'm like, what? What is wrong with you guys? If you guys wanted to have a whipping boy on this fucking trip, you should have invited Sheena Shea.
Because she could handle it.
Thank you.
Sheena,
I'm like, where's Sheena? Please, for the love of God.
Say anything about Sheena, but Sheena can handle this type of stuff.
Yes, it feels like they invited her on the trip. I don't know. I think they were well intended, but they knew better and they shouldn't have invited her. I just don't think that they should have invited her.
I just think they wanted to, like, burn her at the stakes for something that wasn't really that big of a deal. And honestly, here's the deal. And I've seen things about this online too.
I'm not even bothered that she said that shit to Lala. Lala deserved that. I'm like, shut up.
I don't care
They're
about
both
that.
going at each other at 3 a.m. Who cares?
And I've seen stuff like this online where people are like, if we had seen this episode not knowing anything about what we know now with the scandal of it all, we would have really been sympathizing with Raquel.
You can still sympathize.
But I also live in a world where I can still do that because I believe, now again, we won't ever really know unless maybe they really come fully clean at the reunion. Sure. But I believe in the truth that the affair has not started at this moment. And they were really, really nasty to her. Yeah. And like, even just like making fun of her for her like weird nightlight thing, which I've never fucking seen. But like,
I have one of those.
Who the fuck cares? It's like someone traveling with a sound machine. You have a.
I didn't think it was
a nightlight. What is it though? It's not a nightlight. It's like
a projector that does like stars and like the galaxy on the ceiling.
It's just like, who cares? And what she did, making out with Oliver, it's as if she had made out with Schwartz that night. Like, to me, they are treating her as if that was the betrayal. Stop it. It annoyed the fuck out of me. And I gotta tell you, she woke up that next morning and she felt shame. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be very transparent as someone who drinks and has blacked out before. The feeling of waking up, I'm just saying, waking up and being like, now this is earlier. I don't really do this now, but like earlier in my life, I would wake up and be like, oh my God, how did I get home? Like, what did I do? Like, do I have to apologize to someone? Like, the feeling of shame is unbearable. And she wakes up and, she's done this on camera. So it's probably even worse.
Yeah. Of course it is.
She wakes up and she goes into that room and they're kind of like, well, how are you feeling? And she even says she's vulnerable enough to say, like, I feel really embarrassed. Like, I don't know. And for me, like, I wouldn't say that because I would be so ashamed. I'd be like, oh, I'm fine. I would pretend that I knew everything that happened that night, even though I didn't, because I was so ashamed that I didn't remember. I'd be like, oh no, yeah, I remember that point when I didn't. She walked into that room and said, I'm embarrassed. And you know what Katie says? Oh, I'm relieved to hear you say that. Fuck off. Just come on. Oh, I'm relieved that you're embarrassed. Just let her fucking be a mess of a 27-year-old who got drunk in Vegas. They're all mid-30s. They've already done that for a very long time. I can't speak about Christine or Christina, whatever her name is. I don't know her that well. But the other two have definitely done that. And
they won't let her live.
For her to come to that room already having the shame storm, they're like, oh yeah, well, you should feel that way because you were a mess. You were a wreck. And then it goes back and forth all day. Oh, it's okay. Raquel, it's okay. Oh no, Raquel, you were a fucking drunk. It's like, okay, pick a lane. Pick a lane. And I felt it. I honestly, I don't want to be a super sympathizer, but I really felt for Raquel in that moment. She was alone.
She was ostracized.
Absolutely.
I mean, she was so ostracized that, as you said, she came in, said, I'm really embarrassed. I know.
Which is not an easy thing to say, by the way, guys. To admit that you're embarrassed or ashamed, it's not easy.
No, but she also says that, but never mentions how she felt when she overheard them talking about her.
Right.
And you know that she remembers that. You also know that she remembers what she said, but she just doesn't want to fully admit what she said to them again, because it is embarrassing and it is shameful. And so you're just like, okay. And I'm waiting for the other girls to be like, hey, we went a little hard on the pavement with you and maybe thank you for apologizing, but we also could have maybe just reined it in and not had that conversation last night. Nope.
Yeah. Just for the record, I love Lala. She is one of my absolute favorites. I think she's dynamite for TV. I love Lala, but Lala was all over the place. Even in that scene when Raquel was wasted, Lala was the one, and I appreciated it in the moment. She was like, I got to shut this off.
Yeah.
Go to bed. And I am happy that she at least shut it off. I don't think she should have even said anything at the moment, but like, at least she did shut it off. And I did appreciate, the car scene, honestly, when like Raquel's obviously having like a panic attack, was the best scene in the show for me, with like the women and like how they were like, okay, we got to pull over. It's okay. Breathe. What does Lala say? Breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth. Yeah. Or she says it backwards or something.
Yeah.
Like, that was to me a great moment for these women to just drop the bullshit. And like,
it was, but it was in vain because they treated her like shit again later.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. And it was just all over the place. And I got really mad.
Yeah. I didn't understand. I was like, y'all care about her, but y'all also don't. So it was just hard for me. It was just hard for me to follow. Like, I did, like you, loved the car scene. It felt like the car scene was kind of the concept of this entire trip, where they're all supposed to talk about what they're feeling, why they're feeling it, what they're all going through, because they're all in different stages of the breakup, right? Mm-hmm. They're all post-mortem, but in different stages.
That's true.
And it was kind of just nice seeing that, because you got Lala who's dealing with Randall, then you've got Katie who's dealing with Schwartz, and then you've got Raquel who is going through existential terror. Like, she just doesn't understand who she is.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why in that moment the women can understand where she's coming from. They can validate it because they've been there. But then later on, they're like, we don't understand who the fuck you are. Mm-hmm. Well, she just told you that she doesn't understand who she is. So you have to either give grace and latitude and see that through, or you have to shut the fuck up. Because she just told you in the car earlier that she's going through something, and you were not giving her any space to have a conversation about that. So then she gets defensive. Well, wouldn't you get defensive if you've just opened up yourself to all of these women? You're in a safe space, and then what they've just done is they've completely shit all over you. So now you don't feel like you can have that safe space anymore. You don't feel like that platform is there for you to have an open dialogue about how you feel because you just did that, and now they're shitting all over you at the fucking dinner table.
Yeah.
About the same fucking thing that they had already discussed.
And they said, let it go. It's fine. Even Raquel in the car said, I can't remember if she said I can't forgive myself or I just can't let things go. Cause I think even Lala was like, let it go or like move past it. And she's like, I can't do that. I can't let things go.
Yeah.
And then she tells her, let it go. Like, it's fine. It's fine. Like, you're all good. You are all good.
But we all know it's not about the Oliver thing. It's everything else going on in her life is a fucking disaster.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
No, for sure. But agreeing with you in the sense that like the women, they're just straddling the fence. You know, they're mad at her.
And everything feels displaced. Katie like holding on to this makeout that never fucking happened, by the way.
Yeah.
I understand that you're upset at the intention, but let's call it what it is. You're upset at this divorce. You're upset at Schwartz's behavior. Mm-hmm. You're upset about all the other things. You're upset at Sheena. You're upset at the wrong fucking person. The person that you need to be upset about is Tom Schwartz.
Yeah.
It's not Raquel. It's not Sheena. It's not Tom Sandoval. It's no one else but Tom Schwartz.
Yeah.
And to me, it's misplaced. There's a lot of displaced frustration. And it feels like at times Katie is putting that frustration onto Raquel. And at times it feels like
Raquel. It's easy because she doesn't care about Raquel.
Exactly.
It's easy.
To me, Raquel is the Sheena Shea replacement. When Stassi came back into the fold, then Sheena Shea got pushed to the side. Mm-hmm. And to me, Christina Kelly is like the embodiment of Stassi, like the new Stassi.
Oh, okay.
Right? Mm-hmm. And so then now Raquel is the whipping boy. That's how this works with this group.
Yeah.
Okay. There always has to be one that's an outlier. And it's always been Sheena Shea, but Sheena Shea's not on this trip. So they have to find someone. So let's invite Raquel. I just wish they hadn't have done it. But there's also the show aspect, right? Mm-hmm. The production part, where Katie's a good cast member. I think in real life, Katie probably wouldn't have invited Raquel.
Right.
But we're on a show. We're making this a cast trip. She's going to invite Raquel. And then in turn, we're going to invite Charlie. But I think in real life, in that moment, during that time, if cameras were not up, she wouldn't have invited them.
Of course not.
I cannot completely punish Katie for doing that because I do think there's a show element. Now, if she really didn't want to invite them, she would have had that. They would have allowed her not to. But she's a team player, so I do give her props for doing this. It just blew up in their face.
Yeah. And I think there might be a small aspect, because what you said I think is totally true, but there might be also a small aspect that like Katie's being the bigger person, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you
which I appreciate.
You did tell me that you wanted to make out with Schwartz, or you even asked to make out with him, but you know what? I'm the bigger person. I'm still going to invite you on this trip.
Correct. And which I do appreciate her for.
I mean, but yes, all over the place. And that dinner scene, I mean, just, I think I was like, stop talking about it. Stop talking about it.
Well, can we also talk about how they brought it up? Poor Charlie, who is so
by the way, Charlie for the win.
MVP,
maybe of the season for this one episode. Like if they had awards, they had awards for reality TV, like they do for like the Oscars and Emmys and stuff, she would be like guest appearance.
Yeah.
And she would win for that episode, because we needed her. We needed the comedy. And honestly, Raquel needed a little boost. She needed it.
She needed a friend there. I know I've said this before, and I said it on the last Vanderpump recap, but I want to reiterate, because the way that I am recapping, specifically just to myself, recapping these episodes, is really wanting to lean into talking about them like they're human. And the reason why is because I know that people like hate Raquel right now, and I get why they do, and I think that it's warranted. But these people are humans, and like we're seeing this girl, and she's like breaking down because she's literally having a fucking quarter life crisis. And I just want to say that I think a lot of her being all over the place and the things that she's saying, it doesn't give excuse, but I think it does give reason and rationale that like she is literally all over the place. I think that her crying in the car is like this moment of being like, I'm so confused. Why did I want to kiss Oliver if Lawless? Like, I think she's just all over the place. I don't think that she feels loved. And I think her competitiveness with women is to validate herself that she is loved and she is wanted and she is adored.
She has worth.
Yeah, because I do think that there is an aspect that although her family loves her very much, she's still technically adopted.
That's right. That's right.
She dated this man who, talk about emotional whiplash and abuse. No matter how much we may like James, the facts are the facts. I don't think that they had a healthy relationship. And I think that he tore her down and then built her back up and then tore her down and then built her back up. So by the time that she's out of this 5 years later, which guys, if you've ever been in an abusive relationship, 1 year is too long. 1 month is too long. 5 years is a really long fucking time. And I think that she is processing what that feels like after the fact. I was in an abusive relationship and it was a mess. I was all over the place because I had felt so trapped for so many years that I felt like I need to just get that out and I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Because you just felt so tormented that I do think that there's an aspect of her going through that, which I do think gives reason to where she's at with Sandoval now. I mean, I think that there's a lot of layers, a lot of emotional distress, and a lot of psychology happening here.
Yep.
It doesn't give excuse, but I'm just saying the facts are the facts. She's fucked up right now. We are seeing a person who literally does not know who she is because she was ripped apart and torn down by her boyfriend. I'm sorry. I think we're actually understanding how bad that relationship really was.
Yeah. I told JJ on a voice memo that I felt like I was going to have maybe it's unpopular. I don't know. Maybe it's a hot take. It might not be, but I just going off exactly what you said, because you and I typically with stuff like this, we normally are always aligned.
Yeah.
And I do want to say that, like, I do believe, I'm not trying to excuse Raquel, so let me make this very clear. It takes two to tango, and I'm talking about the affair.
Yeah.
She was, I assume, a willing participant, and she made the choice to have this go on for months. She is not, excused from everything. But what I will say, if it is to be believed that really the affair happened after this trip, how vulnerable was she in this trip? How absolutely broken was she in this trip?
It's bad.
It was really, really bad. And I'm going to tell you what, for people that just absolutely hate Raquel, I don't think she's a good actress. So no. I don't think she's coming on the screen being like, I don't know who I am. Like, I don't think it's an act. I think that she is a very young person, and I'm even going to say maybe the maturity, and I don't mean this rudely, but maybe the maturity of like a 19-year-old, to be really transparent, right? Like,
that's what it feels like.
She got into a relationship with James, maybe 2022 or something.
Yeah.
Bad relationship. She is a pageant person, so already like kind of having like specific structures of who she thinks she should be.
Very coddled by her parents. She
doesn't have any, like, to me, she has no self. Like, she doesn't know who she is.
Like, I don't see her as a person who makes big decisions on her own. She definitely, like, asks her parents. She has to ask people, like, their opinions, validation.
And
that's what I think she's looking for with these girls.
Yes,
she's trying to find, like,
absolutely.
that older sister, like, people, like,
yes.
And it's just blowing up in her face because they're being fucking nasty.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. They're being fucking nasty and fucking mean. And I felt so bad for her.
Right.
I was like, how horrible must that feel? Because, like, you're just trying to find friends, you're trying to find acceptance, and you're trying to find all this in a world where you feel like you've been thrown in the gutter. Because I know that she broke up with him, but her ex-boyfriend is fucking horrible.
Yeah.
She doesn't know who she is after pageants. Where does she fit? Has no one ever gone through an identity crisis? I mean, can we have a little bit of empathy for the girl? I mean, she's going through an identity crisis.
Well, and I understand people are like, she's not as dumb as she seems.
Sure.
I think she is. And again, I don't mean that rudely, but like, honestly, the scene at the beginning with like her with that nightlight, like, to me, she's like a child. She's like a child, like, bursting to get out. Like, she just doesn't seem like she has a lot of life experience. And so what I'm going to say is that while, yes, she did participate in this relationship with Sandoval, I really think, and this is not really a hot take, I think most people probably think this, but I think he absolutely took advantage of her. 100%. I think he took advantage of her. He manipulated her because he is, and listen, I'm not trying to do like buzzwords, but like I really think he's a narcissist. Yeah. I don't mean like, oh, he's just egotistical. He likes himself. Like, I think he really is a narcissist.
I would say that he, to me, falls in the line of having covert narcissism.
Where it's disguised.
It's very disguised, and it's all under the guise of like altruism, which is like helping out others and doing all this other, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But I mean, just like, so thinking about it in that way, like she comes to guys' night, she's kind of broken down big time, like just been like whipped in the face with like, you're a trash whore, you're blah, blah, blah.
Well, how did you feel about her exit out of the house to go back to LA to go to guys' night?
I had a lot of embarrassment for her.
Because she throws in Lala's face that the reason why Lala was upset is because she won. And
I feel like that was fed to her. I don't think she came up with that on her own. I got to be honest. I think either Charlie was trying to pump her up, like, or like he picked you. Yeah, I just, because the way that she conveyed it seemed very, like, I got secondhand embarrassment because I don't even think that she believed it.
Well, she's like cracks in her voice. Like she just, like, you know that like it took her, took so much for her to say that and just finally stand up for Lala.
He picks me, okay?
She has been wanting to stand up to Lala for years, and this was her moment. This was her fucking moment, okay?
Yeah. It was.
And so when she does it, I'm like, yo, whoa. Yeah. And the thing is, we all know that that's not what it is. We all know that's not what it is. We all know that that's not why Lala is upset with Raquel. It's not Oliver. However, I do think, and I said it earlier and I'll say it again, I do think that Raquel's competitiveness with women isn't because she thinks that she's better. It's strictly because she needs to validate that she's lovable. And if somebody chooses her over Lala, that means that, okay,
Cha-ching,
it's
baby.
not just me. I'm good. People like me. People love me. See. But little does she know that that's just a temporary high and that will go away very quickly and the insecurities will come back. It's how I think that she got into this whole thing with Sandoval too. I think that she's just a fucking mess and she's constantly competing in the sense of like, well, if he picked me over Ariana or Ariana, is it Ariana or Ariana?
I
say Ariana.
I say Ariana too.
Okay.
I think Lisa says Ariana, but she's English.
It's the Schwartz. It's if Schwartz wants to make out with me, he thinks that I'm better than Katie.
I'm
worthy. It's no different than men who habitually cheat. They're not doing it because they want to fuck everybody else around there. They're doing it because they need to validate that they still got it.
They still got it.
It's the same for Raquel in a lot of ways. And so when she's telling that to Lala that she thinks it's because Oliver chose her and not Lala, I'm going, girl, not this. But that's how she feels. She feels like that because it gives credence to why she did it in the first place, which is because she needs to feel loved and worthy.
Yes. I did think though in that scene when she said it, I just felt like she just wanted to get it out.
Yeah.
I've been practicing pageant practicing. He picked me, okay? And then Lala couldn't do anything but just smile and say, all right. So I got to be honest, I got secondhand embarrassment again. Yeah. I've been getting that a lot lately for these shows. But I don't know why she said it. The minute that left Raquel's mouth, like he just picked, you were jealous or you're just mad because he chose to take me to the dance floor. I just felt really embarrassed for her because I don't even think she believed it. I just think it was like something that was like, okay, routine. I got to say this.
Yeah.
But, but her leaving, I mean, I think it was the right choice. I gotta say, I'm very, very glad that Charlie again was there for multiple reasons, but I'm glad that she didn't have to leave by herself. And this is what's so weird about Raquel for me, because this is another situation where she was so honest that she didn't need to be. Like, she didn't need to tell people, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go. Sheena called me. I'm gonna go hang out with Schwartz.
Oh, she did it on purpose. She did it to make them mad.
I mean,
she did it to poke them because she felt like they had been poking her for days, and she was like, "Fuck you, I'm going."
I'm proud in that sense. Then
I was fine with all the things that she said. I know that it was secondhand embarrassment, and it was all horrible and like bad. But at the same time, I'm with Charlie. She's getting her voice, and I think that this is growth. Even if the girls don't like it, and even if we don't like it, and what she says is crazy, the fact of the matter is that it's not hurting the girls in a significant way. They're unbothered because they think that she's stupid, right? So if they think that she's fucking dumb and she's saying it, then let her say it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, who cares? Let her grow. To me, it's like, okay, she's finding her voice. Because if it were me, I'd go, She's finding her voice. Okay, Raquel. Guys, let her have this. Let her have this. I look to my side. Guys, let her have it. She's finding her voice. Whatever. But
I have to stand up for myself.
who says that I have to defend myself?
Somebody who's practicing. That's what I'm saying. Guys, I understand she's fucked up. She's fucked up. This is not, and this is where maybe the unpopular opinion comes in. I don't think she's malicious. I think she's kind of a dum-dum who's at a bad part of her life. And you have someone who is super narcissistic and knows how to manipulate Sandoval now swooping in when she's at the most vulnerable place, and he's probably directing the show. He's directing it. Yes, she stayed. Yes, they had a multiple long month affair. We deserve to be mad at both of them, but people are like, the slight edge goes to Sandoval. I don't think so, baby. To me, it's like 80-20. I give 80%,
70-30.
I give 80% to Sandoval and 20% to Raquel, because you know what? Sandoval's what, 38? He's
40.
done this time and time and time again, and he knows what to do. She needs to accept blame. I believe she needs to be held accountable, but she is lost. She's told us she's lost. I believe she's lost because of what I'm seeing.
Yes. And I think that if the guy's 9 is the
beginning
or the inception of the two of them, this is how this happened. She was reeling. She was feeling a certain type of way about these women. Let's call a spade a spade. These motherfuckers do not like these girls that are on this trip. The guys back home.
Oh.
Schwartz doesn't care for them, and neither does Sandoval. Sandoval has never liked Katie, and let's just call that what the fuck it is.
Yeah, very true.
She 100% went and vented to them about what happened, and Sandoval went in like he always motherfucking does. Katie fucking sucks. Lala's a home wrecker. Da 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 da. They suck. They're always mean. They're always treating girls like shit.
Yeah.
Ba ba ba. You know that they fucking did that. You know that she ran home, and just like any other person would, she vented, because I would vent.
Yep.
And that narcissistic fuck was like, I smell weak. And so he's like, I'm coming in. Yeah. It's no different. He did this shit with Ariana too.
Yes, because she got out of a really, really bad relationship.
And her dad had just died. I'd forgotten about that. Her dad has just died.
I didn't remember that timeline.
Yes.
I do remember her dad passing, but I didn't know it fell within that timeline.
Yes, because that's when initially Kristen starts seeing the text messages, and she's like, you know, y'all texted each other. And she was like,
okay.
He was checking in with me. Our friend's not allowed to check in.
And she later apologizes for that, doesn't she? Doesn't Kristen later apologize for that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because she read the text messages between the two of them, and it was in and around the time that Ariana's dad had died. Mm-hmm. So he was texting to comfort her.
Yeah.
Little do we find out later that, like, this is also fucking bullshit. Like, let's just call that bullshit. They may have not physically cheated. They had an emotional affair, and let's call that what the fuck it is. He goes from one girl to the next. When one girl gets tired, he finds the other one to swoop on in.
Well,
he was in a relationship with Kristen for far too fucking long, and I would say at least a year to probably a year and a half. He started and was in an emotional fucking affair with Ariana.
Well, and I just recently rewatched this. I feel like, as most people are, like rewatching older seasons, but like, don't you remember when Ariana says, because they admit that they made out in the pool, right, in Vegas or something.
Yeah.
But then Ariana says, but Tom told me that y'all weren't together, or y'all were on like a break or something, which I believe absolutely true. He did say that.
Just like he fucking telling people that he's in fucking open relationships.
Right. So maybe he said
that
something.
Raquel's the only fucking one, by the way.
Oh, I don't either. I don't either at all.
That man has a fucking closet full of skeletons.
So all I'm saying is, one, we don't really fully know, but isn't it possible, knowing everything we know about Sandoval, that it's possible that he told Raquel, oh, Ariana and I are in an open relationship? Again, I'm not saying it's super, like, makes sense, because I'm sure she still could have said something to Ariana.
Yeah, and I think that she would have known better. But
I think that maybe he was probably saying, hey, like, we're going to be breaking up soon. Like, I love Ariana, but this is no longer a loving relationship. I'm not being fulfilled. I'm going to tell her one of these days, it's, we're going to walk away because I'm really feeling things with you right now, but just keep it on the DL for a little bit longer, because we can't tell Ariana, because I got to figure out a way to tell her, because she's really fragile. Like, I can imagine him saying stuff like that. And you know what? Raquel is gonna fucking believe it, because why wouldn't she? She is young. She's been in bad relationships. She doesn't know who she is. Why would she not believe a competent older man who knows exactly what he's doing and telling her exactly what she needs and wants to hear and manipulating the situation?
And I know that some of the listeners are probably going to bump up against us calling her young. And I think, I don't want to speak for you, but when I say that, I don't mean like she's young as in like she's like a child. I'm saying that she has peaked emotionally. Her maturity
the life
level
experience, guys, is
like
what we're talking about.
Yes, thank you. It's a life
It's
experience.
not an age. It's not her being like, because there are 27-year-olds that I meet that are like you said,
Correct.
an old soul. Like, it's not about her being 27, 26. It's about where exactly what JJ said, where she is emotionally.
She's not there yet.
Yeah. And again, I'm not trying to like, I don't want to be like, that girl's dumb. I just think that there's like circumstances that have held her back. And
here's what I'm going to say. I am sure that there is a fraction of Raquel who feels bad for all of this, right?
mm-hmm.
But I don't think that she's going to fully understand the scope of all of this until she hits her 30s. Like, I think that she needs more life experience, and then she's going to go, oh, this is severe. This is significant.
I think well, let me put it this way. I have hope and slight confidence that she really can maybe take something from this, grow, develop, all that. Sandoval is who he is.
Yeah.
And I would like for him to get all of the rage, which he has gotten. And all I'm saying for Raquel, I'm not going to go as far to say like she's a victim in this. I'm not going to say that, but I do believe that he knew exactly what he was doing. And when you're emotionally kind of disrupted like that, like she is, it's easy to, and like you said, it's easy. Like, he's picking me. Like Ariana, how fucking cool is Ariana? Ariana, from the very beginning, Ariana's the cool girl. Yeah. Even Stassi was like, why doesn't she want to be friends with me? Like, Ariana was hot,
always the hard one to get through.
Hot, cool girl, everything. And oh my God, Sandoval wants to be with me? Does that mean I'm as cool or even cooler than Ariana?
That's
like kind of going back to what you were saying.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I
know people are hating on Raquel, and listen, I'm not saying don't do that. I think really more of the onus falls on Sandoval. And when I say more, I want to say almost, again, 80%.
Yeah. That's how I feel. And although I don't condone cheating, I do want to say that I think this relationship between Ariana and Sandoval was over for like a long time, at least for him.
Yeah. Well, maybe.
I just feel like that's why I think it was so easy for him to just kind of roll into this thing with Raquel, because I just think for him, the relationship was over for like a year and a half. I personally think.
Well, I also think, kind of going back to what you maybe said last episode, like he always has to have fangirls. And I guess for Sandoval, and what I said is that from when we've met him, when he stepped onto the Bravo screen, he's never been single. And so I think there's an aspect that he doesn't want to break up with Ariana unless he has something else lined up. And it's not enough for him just to have sex and cheat. He needs someone to really worship and be in it with him. And I think that's why he's a cheater. He's like, he tries it on before he buys it.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes. And it always is women who are looking for strength.
Very, very vulnerable people.
Ariana loses her dad.
Mm-hmm.
She gets out of a bad relationship. Tom's there to help comfort her. Raquel's getting out of an abusive relationship that, by the way, he paid $13,000 to help fucking James.
The savior, like you said, the savior.
Savior complex to help James propose. Well, that turns into shit. So whose arms can she fall into? Sandoval's.
Makes me want to throw up. And
I mean, the dog died. He doesn't seem to give a flying fuck.
So sad.
I'm assuming that they're going to probably brush upon it next episode when they pick back up from at the Mondrian. But I'm telling you, it's like, where's Ariana?
Yeah. No,
she's not there. He's out, living it up.
Yeah. And, I'm looking, well, it's kind of sadistic to be like, I'm looking forward to these scenes that they just filmed, but I think we all are, for being honest. Like the scene between Sandoval and Ariana that they just filmed. But from what we know, the filming when Ariana and Tom did the scene that they just filmed, kind of, I guess, talking about like what happened or like, maybe the official breakup. I don't know. But the little that we know from that is that Ariana left feeling like she was being gaslit.
Yeah.
Which just checks out. Like, I couldn't tell you this because of your mental health. I couldn't tell you this because of your dog dying. I couldn't tell you this because of X, Y, and Z.
He did the same thing to Kristen.
well, gaslighter.
He did the same thing to her.
So
there was a moment where she's like, why didn't you tell me that you and Ariana kissed? Or why didn't you tell me that you met up with this person? And he goes, I didn't tell you because of this. I knew how you would react.
Yeah.
No, bitch. You didn't tell her because you don't want to take responsibility for anything that you do.
He's awful. He's awful. And
he's always been this way. He's always been this way.
But
we've never been Sandoval lovers.
Oh, well, I've never liked him. And
I liked him more than you.
No, yeah. You liked him more than I did.
100%.
I never liked him. But you liked him in like a satire way because he had like comedic. He's a joke. He takes himself so seriously.
He takes himself so seriously. I just watched a scene. It's the intervention scene with Shay and the group. And Shay is saying all these things to Sheena. Sheena's trying to process in the moment all these things that Shay is telling her because he's never actually told her what's wrong with him. He feels depressed. He's addicted to these pills. He feels like Sheena steps on top of him. He can never get a word in. He's trying to tell her how he feels. He can never feel comfortable enough to tell her that he's in a bad spot and that he's addicted, right? Mm-hmm. And Sheena doesn't know how to process that. She's like hearing these things for the first time and she's like, but I don't understand. Like you should want to communicate that with me. Like, why aren't you telling me these things? Like, why, like, what is wrong? Like, what is going on? And she doesn't have the language because this is all new to her. And fucking Sandoval steps in, Sheena, stop. And I'm like, shut
God.
up. I just watched that recently. And I'm just thinking, shut up. Mm-hmm. Shut the fuck up. He always does this. He loves to be the savior. He loves to be the person that rags on the women all of the time. Yeah. All the time. It's never the men.
Never. Well, sometimes Jax, but that's only when Jax brings it up.
That's true.
But have you ever seen him get mad at Schwartz in a real way?
No.
No, why? Because
but
Schwartz
not even Jax. Jax fucked his girlfriend and he didn't care because he was cheating on her already with Ariana. Yeah. Like, fuck off.
Yeah, you're right. He's always been the one that goes after the women.
He's like, Jax, I get. I understand
The
Jax.
reason that Schwartz is the best friend for him is that he's just a ride or die. He doesn't care. He never judges him. He just whatever he does and says goes. We still don't really know the timeline of when Schwartz found out about this, but does it really even matter?
No.
I mean, who cares?
No.
It is what it is. And let's not pretend that Schwartz is like a moral high ground. He's also trash.
Also,
so
guys,
who cares?
Even if Schwartz did know, let's just pretend that he did for a second. Are we really expecting his best friend to go out and tell everybody that he's cheating? I mean, put yourself in his situation. Well, your best friend's cheating and you know they're cheating. And what are you going to go tell their significant other?
And do we really think Schwartz is going to do that?
No, but in real life, because this is real life, this show is real life, who's going to go out there and do that? Who's going to go and fucking tell? I mean, come on, guys.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's excusable. Yeah, if Schwartz really knew in a big way, fuck him. But also, like, why fuck him? Like, what was he supposed to do?
And also, I'm
going to get ripped for that. I know it. But I'm just saying, like, I don't
think so.
Because what is he supposed to do?
Listen, I think it's easy to take them down as a group collectively, but I just want to fire on Sandoval. I really do. This episode really sunk in for me, really believing what has been out there that the affair started after this.
Yeah.
I have never liked Sandoval. And again, I understand that Raquel is a willing participant. We cannot let her off the hook completely, but like he is to blame for this. And I want him to go down in flames. And I'm sorry about that. I know Lisa's like, and like what you said, they're all people. They make mistakes. I don't think this is a mistake. This is fundamentally who he is.
Always has been.
Listen, there are bad people. I don't need to tell anybody this. Everybody knows there are bad people in the world. I just think he's a bad guy. I think he's a bad guy, and I don't want to see him glorified anymore on TV. I want him to show up to the reunion, which I think he will, because he is a narcissist. I think he will show up. I don't want to see him. I don't want to see him after that. I want him to be out of here. I do.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see what happens to the show after that. But I get like ill, like even like watching old scenes. Remember that scene that's now been going around when Ariana's like, I haven't been having orgasms when we're having sex. He's like, no, you are. You did.
Multiple.
You did.
Yeah.
It's like, what a fucking loser.
And she's like,
she's like, I'm pretty sure I haven't. He's like, no, man, I know. And she's like, okay. It's like almost she was so embarrassed that she's like, I better just end this conversation.
She's so embarrassed.
But that's gaslighting. That is the definition of gaslighting.
But she still has enough consideration and compassion to not outright say that he did not actually make her come.
Yes.
She still's like, okay, I'm not going to say it. So I'm just going to whatever. But okay.
I just think he's such trash. And did we
Freddy
ever?
Krueger.
I gotta be. Oh yeah, that fucking. Oh, should I say what I was gonna say?
Sweater.
Maybe I shouldn't say what I was gonna say. Remember? I'm not gonna. Anyway, he did look like Freddy Krueger, but
Betsy thinks that he looks like a guy who drives a van that says, "Hey kids, you want some candy?"
in the 70s. But you have to. It's specifically in the 70s, y'all. I think That's all I'll say about that. But did we ever think that a day would come on Vanderpump where Jax was like, "Oh, he's a pretty okay guy."
Guys,
I mean, Jax, not even on the show anymore, but Jax right now is the stand-up guy of the group.
I've had conversations, and I've said it before on the pod when we've talked about Jax, and I know that people disagreed with me. I think you disagreed with me, actually.
What was
Somebody
it?
disagreed with me.
I'll tell you if I did.
Look, for all things that Jax is, we have to say that Jax has at least been consistent and honest. And I think you or somebody else was like, Jax is not honest. Yes,
he's been consistent.
Yeah, he is. He always cops to it. Just because he lies in the beginning, he always cops to it.
It was me.
It was you. I knew it.
I pushed back. Listen, he's always been consistent. But when you were like, he's always honest, I said, but he's only honest when he has to be. He lied about the Kristen thing for what, multiple months? He finally copped to it.
But
so
he didn't have to.
Finally got there. But to say that he's honest, I don't know if I could ride that train.
He's not necessarily honest right out the gate, out the door, but he ends up copping to it. He does say that he is a piece of shit person. He does all.
Well, that's the thing I like about
Sandoval
Jax.
says that he's great. He's a great person. He's so kind. He's the best man you'll ever have. He's the best friend you could ever have.
Best man.
He's everything. He's like a cult leader. I'm like, stop trying to Tony Robbins me. We understand who you are, Sandoval.
Yeah.
We get it. Stop it.
Yeah. I will say the thing I do find grounding about Jax is that at least once a season, he's always like, I know I'm a piece of shit. Like either in the confessional or something, he's always like saying something a little bit self-deprecating that I appreciate.
Yeah. Schwartz does the same thing. It doesn't excuse them and we don't like them any less or more, but I do appreciate that. At least for us, it plays as comedy. For them, they're being serious. But for us, it plays as comedy. They're like, I'm such a piece of shit. And I'm like, you are. This is great.
You are.
And just because you say it doesn't mean that all is forgiven, which to me, that's kind of like their biggest thing. That's like their MO. If they admit that they're pieces of shit, it makes them less pieces of shit. And I'm like, it doesn't. Just because you say it doesn't mean that you're less of that. Just because you have introspection enough to know that you're a piece of shit doesn't make you a better person. It's actually trying not to be a piece of shit that actually makes you a better person.
Yeah, but in this case, I'm like, oh, I do like you a smidge more because at least you can admit that. Whereas Sandoval cannot do that.
Yeah.
Cannot do anything. Mm-mm. He can't even run a business.
At least Jax has situations in his life that make him a little bit more warm, inviting, like when he had breast cancer. Do you remember that?
Oh my God. I almost choked on my tequila.
Do you remember when he had breast cancer?
I forgot about that.
Yeah. He did. He had breast cancer.
Guys, he's come so far.
He really
he has climbed that mountain. Look at him. He is a survivor, baby. He's a survivor.
Gonna be an uphill battle.
He's gonna make a move.
Yeah.
There it is. You heard it here first. The Climb by
That's
Jax
the
Taylor.
climb.
Oh my God. Yeah. This show is the gift that keeps on giving. This show is an absolute dynamite.
It's such a disaster.
It's such a beautiful disaster.
Yeah. I almost forgot about the last scene of the night, which is Guys Night.
Guys Night, Sheena adjacent.
Yeah. Sheena adjacent. You know what reminded me of the scene? Brock's outfit. And so Sheena bad. With her styling. She's always just one style choice is always just a little bit jumping the shark for me. It's like, I can get down with her outfit. The makeup looks good, but then I see the hair and I'm like, why? You don't need a ponytail that's down to your ankles. Please stop. It's always just a miss, just a tiny, just like a hair.
Isn't it great that that's the way we can tell they're a couple?
They're both in pleather. Do you know that he's wearing a pleather shirt?
Yeah, I noticed it. The material looked very heavy. Like he must have been sweating at the end of the night.
Like, why are they always in leather? Like, I really do love Sheena. I think she's really beautiful. I love to drag her.
Sheena is beautiful.
She's beautiful. I love to drag her a little bit just because it's easy. But I do love Sheena and I don't want to shame her. But I am going to shame the fact that they're always in leather. I'm like, are you sweating? I always feel like, why? Yeah. Like, I feel like we're sweating. Like I'm sweating right now thinking about the both of them wearing leather.
Well, I gotta be honest. Sheena was an afterthought. I was only stuck on Brock's shirt. It's like I could not. No, I didn't even see his head.
Yeah.
I was just looking at the shirt, and it was a lot for me. And then I watched it again, and then I saw Sheena's outfit. And I don't ever like to comment on the outfits because I don't know anything about style, so I don't really give a flying fuck. I just say, oh, would I or wouldn't I? And I wouldn't for either of those.
I love how you're like, I really don't know much about style, also, but you hated Schwartz's shirt.
Yeah, well, that's what I was just about to say. I said, what the fuck is, Schwartz had that meeting with the stylist, and then he showed up in that shirt, and JJ says, JJ goes, that shirt's in. It's very, it's stylistic or something. I was like, okay, see, I really don't know anything.
I'm glad you brought that up because I thought it was so funny that Sheena suggested that he do like an archival box of clothing.
Oh yeah, with the shoes and stuff.
She did, yeah. The stylist was like, I can do that. I can do like an archival box. And I'm thinking, it's not like why are we acting like Katie died? And like we need to put like all the clothes that he ever received from her in some type of like tomb.
Yeah, that was funny.
Look, I like shorts. Oh my God, I didn't mean to say that.
Do you?
I do, and I feel like that was something.
Oh my God, guys, the truth is coming out. Producer, leave this in. Leave it in. You heard it here first.
Guys, I just had a tequila, and so I think that
you know what they say, tequila is the truth serum. Listen, I will say, I've never, ever, ever, ever liked Sandoval. Schwartz was always one that was hard for me because he was so endearing. He was goofy. It was just the more that I saw him over the years and rewatching episodes, you see kind of how trash he really is and tragic. But he's the lesser of the evils here. He really is. We only have 2 men left on I guess James. Yeah. We only have 3 men. We have James, Sandoval, and Schwartz, and that is dangerous. How do you pick between that? Well,
I think I love Schwartz because he reminds me of my best friend, John. Like one of my guy best friends.
Okay, well, I mean, I could see that.
Yeah. But that was a Freudian thing. It just kind of came out. I didn't mean for that too. But yeah, guys' night. So we're all here at the Mondrian. Everyone's hanging. It's guys' night plus Sheena, which that's another thing where people, I think, are bumping against Sheena being there. And like, why is Sheena trying to throw the guys' night? Why is Sheena throwing the divorce party? Why is Sheena da-da-da-da-da? Guys, because Sheena's never actually been a part of the group.
Yeah, Sheena needs to film.
Sheena needs to film, but they're also not inviting her to the girls' weekend. And truth be told, she's always kind of been a part of the guys group. Since the first episode of Vanderpump, she's always been a part of the guys circle because they've always kind of looked at her more as an outcast. Because the way that she came into the show was, the narrative was that she was a home wrecking whore.
Brandy and all that stuff.
Brandy and all that shit. So she's always kind of lived in that space. I don't think that this is some big like revelation that she's with the guys. I think it's totally tracks.
It does.
It absolutely
and
tracks.
Honestly, what you said earlier, which I didn't think about when I was watching it, like the women had to have like a whipping. Did you say a whipping boy?
Whipping boy.
Okay, that's like with inviting Raquel because Sheena wasn't going. I think that actually really, really tracks. It does because they love to shit on Sheena.
They always love.
And I'm not. Listen, it's whatever. I mean, but they do. They love to pick on her. They can pick her apart. And for all we can say about Sheena, because like, listen, she has, as all of these people do, they have lots of flaws. But Sheena can handle herself.
Yeah.
In a way that Raquel cannot.
No way.
Sheena could have gone on this trip, and obviously it would be very different. They would not be having the same conversations, but Sheena would be able to handle her own.
Yeah.
Because she can. And so I really respect that about Sheena. I really do.
Same.
Oh, okay. So, but the women show up.
Yeah.
And then Sandoval's like, hey guys.
He's so stupid.
Wow. And I'm like, ooh. Okay. So I got to tell you something. Unfortunately, because no shock to anybody. I'm not a journalist, so I don't always know all of my information.
Sure.
But what I can tell you is I spend tons and tons of, well, you won't be able to because I don't know the information. I spend lots of time on TikTok. Okay. And obviously, like many of you, my algorithm is all Vanderpump.
Yeah.
There was a person, and I cannot remember. I think it was a friend of Sheena's. I don't know. Regardless. One of the guys that was there that night on guys' night, there was a girl that was also there that was not on camera.
Yeah.
Okay. So she was friends with either Sheena or she was friends with Schwartz, or maybe she was good friends with Sandoval. I can't remember exactly what it was. But what she said is that night, because she was present, I guess when the cameras went away, there was a scene, or maybe we'll see it next week. Maybe we'll see it next week. Maybe we won't. But there's a scene where she said that Sandoval and Raquel were like
disappeared.
Yeah,
right?
they disappeared, but they were sitting right next to each other, like on a curb or something.
Yeah.
And they were like really, really like closely talking and stuff. But obviously at the time, this girl thought nothing of it. Like it seemed very innocent, whatever. Yeah. So she pulled out her phone and she recorded it, and she and this guy, so the guy is the one that was there, that I'm blanking on whoever it was. They were like, made a funny video, like mocking their voices, like, oh, ha, Raquel, I'm Tom. And the other girl was like, oh, Tom. And they were like making a funny video of like their voices, because they thought it was totally innocent.
Sure.
But then she said, after all this broke, when she looked at the video again, she was like, wow, like I can see how this looks really bad. And I think honestly what she said is the reason she didn't post it at the time was that she didn't want to put any narrative out there that like there was something going on.
She didn't
here.
want it to be misconstrued.
Right.
Yeah.
And now that's why it never saw the light of day, I guess. And now when she watches it back personally, she was like, this is a sign. Like they looked really, really intimate. Like it was inappropriate.
Well, there's a rumor out there that perhaps the three of them had a threesome. And then Sandoval caught feelings. Here's the thing. This always happens when there's always a person that's always one foot in.
Part to blame. Come on.
No, I don't even know if it would be Ariana who wanted the threesome. I always kind of see it as like the guy wants a threesome, or they want to spice up the marriage, but spicing up the marriage isn't going to help in that way. And what ends up happening is that somebody always catches feelings.
Do you believe that?
I think it's possible. I don't necessarily think it happened, but given their histories, and I think that they're a little bit more fluid, probably. I think it's plausible. I don't know if that's how it happened, though. I do think that Sandoval has a crush on Raquel. Prior to Guys Night, it doesn't feel to me that like they have had this love affair. To me, it feels like what I've said before, that they may have kissed at some point, and maybe they were like, oh shit, we shouldn't have done that. What does this mean? Raquel's probably going through a rough time, and Sandoval's like, don't worry, it's not a big deal, like it's okay, we don't have to tell anybody. And then they kind of have a crush on each other, and it just kind of goes into
I don't think it has anything to do with Raquel. I think it has to do all with him.
What do you mean?
Like, I don't even think that he loves her. I think he loves the way that she looks and treats him.
But that's what I'm saying. I don't think that he is sitting on his couch.
So I don't think he has a crush on her.
But I do. I think that, of course, I understand what you're saying. What I'm saying is his crush is a conduit to his, you know what I mean? Like,
yes, he's attracted to how she makes him feel about himself.
Yes, correct.
Yes, absolutely.
Correct. So I think he has a crush on her in that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Oh, and also everyone's pointing out that Sandoval may have known that the girls were coming to the guys' night out. I don't ever want to totally pick apart and dissect like the tiny nuance of things. I also think that maybe they just texted saying we're coming home. I don't think it was some big thing.
I didn't even catch that. I got to be honest. When I watched the episode, I didn't catch that. So I think, but again, I think it's easy given what we know now, like people really watching these episodes with like.
Sometimes it's not that deep.
Right. Like, but I think people are like, okay, what are the tiniest little hints that we can, point out and find that they knew, or that this is when it started. I think that that's what people are doing. Right.
Yeah.
Whereas I didn't even. I mean, I got over here and you told me that and I was like, I don't even know what you're talking about. I didn't even pick up on that. So I don't know that it's.
I mean, I picked up on it, but I didn't think it was anything deep. I just thought it's likely that they probably just all texted each other.
Or for all we know, y'all, that, maybe Raquel texted Schwartz.
Or Ariana.
She texted Ariana and Ariana told, so whatever.
Wow.
Whatever. But wow. It was a big episode.
Can I say this real quick?
Here we go.
I just forgot to mention this and I wanted to say it earlier.
Mic
For
it
all
up,
of those
mic it
out
up.
there who may be feeling that Kristen Doty is using the pain and the suffering of Ariana or this breakup and this cheating and all this stuff as a way to gain an additional 15 minutes of fame, because she's been hopping around doing a lot of podcast interviews. And I think that some people are seeing it as her being an opportunist and kind of riding on the coattails of somebody else's suffering. I understand and I completely validate that perception. What I want to say is that Kristen Doty wouldn't be doing this if she did not have the approval of the others in the group.
Of Ariana specifically.
Correct. And the reason why I think that she's doing this and why she's been given the okay is because Kristen Doty is not under contract. So Kristen Doty can go out and say whatever the fuck she wants. And I think that this hopping around that she's been kind of doing with the podcast, it's strategic. Guys, these guys on Vanderpump are fucking super fucking smart. They've been doing this for so fucking long. I honestly think that they probably had a conversation about it and they were like, yeah, Kristen, go ahead, go out there.
Yes.
Speak, say the truth, say the things that we're not able to say right now and we may not ever be able to say on the show because people are not going to cop up to the shit that they've done. So if you can go out there and do this because you're on a day rate and you're not contracted by Bravo, go ahead, because we can't. Lala cannot go out there and say all that shit. Katie cannot go out there and say all that shit. Schwartz, even if he had the opportunity, isn't going to say all that shit. Sandoval's not going to say anything. None of them can say anything. Sheena certainly isn't going to say anything. So the only person who's able to say something is Kristen. So I totally get the perception that it looks like she's out there, you know, riding off the coattails of Ariana and all this and trying to have herself be relevant again. It's not that. Mm-mm. It's that she can, and she can be a mouthpiece, so to speak.
Well, and I never really thought that in regards to this. And I think it would, listen, I would feel differently if she didn't have any relationship with Ariana, but we know that's not the truth. Now she has a relationship with Ariana. She's over at the house. I know they filmed a scene together. Like, she's involved in Ariana's life. And I got to be honest, I don't care what people think about Kristen. I need someone who's involved in this situation that can tell me a little bit about what's going on. Like, she's the reason that we know that Sandoval showed up and he's like, well, there's my house too. She won't, if she's uncomfortable, she can leave. Like, how else would weird. I don't know what that accent is I just did, but like, I guess it was like a Western. I don't know what that was, but like, how else would we have known that? Like, I'm so grateful that honestly, she is doing that. I don't care what people think. As long as like you said, the mouthpiece, Ariana gave her the go ahead. I am so grateful. And I just view it differently because she is now, which is kind of unbelievable, but she and Ariana are friends. Yeah. So I want to hear and I will subscribe to everything she is saying because it's an insider lens that we don't currently have right now.
We don't.
So when we need it.
And I think it's totally fine.
And if Ariana says it's okay, baby,
I don't
go
care.
for it.
Exactly. If Ariana's fine with it doesn't matter to me.
I don't give a flying fuck what that narcissist cares about.
Wow.
Whatever. But yeah, wow. It was a big episode. It was really supersized.
It was supersized.
And Lisa wasn't in it at all. Well, she was in it that one scene with Ariana. But,
she was the face.
But yeah. So she got her episodic fee, did she?
Well, she'll always get her fee because, you know, she's
the queen of Bravo.
She gets many fees on that show.
I bet she does.
She really does, though.
Well,
yeah. All right.
If you made it this far, we appreciate it.
Oh, yes, guys. We really appreciate it. Thank you for joining us on this Tequila Friday.
Yes.